In the small town of Logan, Ohio, the Inman family was, at first glance, a model of piety and integrity. They attended church every Sunday, creating the illusion of a tight-knit religious family. Behind the closed doors of their home, however, an entirely different reality unfolded that no one around them could have imagined. Bill and Sandra Inman met at church in 1983. He was 18 and she was only 16, but with the blessing of their parents, the young people decided to get married. They settled in the town of Logan in Hocking County. Bill was a deeply religious man, working as a construction worker and playing musical instruments at Skinny Faith Evangelical Church near Nelsonville. Sandra was a homemaker. In 1984, the couple had a son, William Jr. To avoid confusion, the head of the family was referred to as Bill and his son as Will. Over the years, Will grew older, and in 2001, when he was 17, he met 15-year-old Summer Cook in church. Their love story resembled that of Will's parents' relationship. The young people were friends for 3 years, and when Summer turned 18 in 2004, they got married. That same year, 2004, 39-year-old Bill Inman began to consider himself a religious leader. He turned his garage into a makeshift church and began holding services there. Despite local distrust of this self-proclaimed pastor, people began coming to the mysterious garage on the family's property to pray and leave donations. In 2005, Will and Summer had a son, Alex. By then, the Inman family was facing financial difficulties as Bill's church activities were not generating income. They decided to move to another state in search of work. In 2006, the Inmans moved to Florida, where Bill and Will quickly found work in hotel construction, while Sandra and Summer took care of the house and Alex's upbringing. 2 years later, in 2008, the family returned to Ohio. By then, they had lost their Logan home due to mortgage default. The Inmans rented a new home in rural Vinton. Shortly after the move, in 2008, Will and Summer had a daughter, Kelly, and 2 more years later, in 2010, their family welcomed another daughter, Alana. In the spring of 2010, Bill Inman received his pastor's license and declared himself the head of Skinny Faith Church. Together with his wife, they registered a nonprofit organization called Mercy Ranch, ostensibly to help the unemployed and homeless. Bill envisioned building a large house to shelter orphans and widows, but the family didn't have the funds to build. Then Bill decided to organize a lottery. People bought tickets, and the proceeds went to the construction of the shelter. The main prize was a house or $200,000, plus they promised to raffle off 99 more prizes. Bill personally went door to door and encouraged residents to buy tickets for $10 each, promising a great prize. He eventually sold 100,000 tickets and raised $1 million. The drawing was to be held in September 2010. However, the Inman family's personal life was undergoing major changes at this time. In June 2010, Summer decided to divorce Will after 6 years of marriage. Shortly before that, she made an entry in her personal diary. "I am so tired of pleasing everyone. I'm exhausted. Don't I deserve to be happy? Don't I deserve to love someone and feel mutual love? I don't know if this is the right time, but I want to tell you everything. I feel so bad. Will deserves to know that I don't want to be with him anymore. I want to be alone to figure out who I am. Right now, I'm just a slave doing all their bidding. I don't want my children to grow up seeing their mother take orders from them. Every day, all I want to do is cry and sleep. Nothing else." Summer filed for divorce and took the children and belongings, moving in with her parents. She did not forbid contact with her father, but 2 months later, in August 2010, she began dating Adam Peters and took a job as a janitor at a bank in Logan. A house was to be raffled off in September, but construction never began. The Mercy Ranch organization was in no hurry to return the money. On December 1st, 2010, the Inman family was told they had to move out of the house because of rent arrears. Summer and Adam came to pick up the rest of their belongings, but Will and his parents wouldn't let them in, threatening Adam and trying to hit a police officer. Summer filed a report against Will, accusing him of controlling, threatening, and animal cruelty. The court barred Will from approaching Summer and placed him on a fine and probation. A custody battle over the children began. The Inmans claimed Adam Peters was a danger to Alex, Kelly, and Alana. On March 22, 2011, a horrific event occurred. At 11 p.m., 25-year-old Summer Inman finished her shift at the bank where she worked as a janitor. When she went outside to throw out the trash, she told her boyfriend Adam that she would be free soon and they could meet. However, Adam never waited for her at the agreed-upon location. Around midnight, a concerned Adam arrived at the bank and found Summer's personal belongings, her phone, keys, and headphones with the player on, in the alley next to the dumpster. Nearby, her jacket was lying in the grass. Adam immediately contacted Summer's parents, told them about the find, and insisted they call the police. The police arrived on the scene and found 3 witnesses to the kidnapping that had occurred just an hour earlier. 2 women out for a jog saw a white Ford Crown Victoria, driven by a blonde woman, pull up to Summer. 2 men wearing black masks got out of the car, and they grabbed Summer, pushing her into the back seat. Summer resisted and screamed for help, but a bystander who tried to help her was driven away by pepper spray in her face. The car then drove away from the scene. News of the kidnapping of 25-year-old Summer Inman quickly traveled across the local media. Hundreds of Logan residents gathered to help search for the missing woman. However, with each passing day, hope of finding her alive was fading. Just a few weeks before her disappearance, Summer had posted a photo on Facebook with Adam and her children, in which they all looked genuinely happy. Having accidentally seen this photo in the feed of his friend Adam Peters, Will Inman probably could not have guessed what tragic consequences this connection of his wife with another man would lead to. The fact is that Adam had met Summer a year earlier, in the spring of 2010, when the Inmans hired him to look after their house and grounds. A romantic relationship developed between Adam and Summer. As Summer herself wrote in her diary, "When I looked into his eyes, I realized that the devil had possessed me. I didn't listen to what God was telling me, didn't run away right away and let him hold me and take it further. I am very guilty." Meeting Adam was the beginning of the end of Summer's life with the Inman family. Longing for happiness and love, she filed for divorce, which took a lot of time. 5 days before his disappearance, Will demanded that child support be reduced from $150 to $50 a month for each child, citing his annual income of only $6,000. The Inmans also tried to get sole custody of the grandchildren, but the court denied it. In March 2011, while the investigation into Summer's disappearance was underway, police found the Inman family at the home of Bill's 70-year-old mother in Jackson County. All 3, Bill, Sandra, and Will, denied any involvement in the abduction. They stated that they were driving to Cleveland that night to look at a new house, but their car broke down and they had to spend the night on the road getting it repaired. But a review of GPS data from a white Ford Crown Victoria revealed that the car was in Logan on March 22nd, the day Summer disappeared. And phone records confirmed that all 3 Inmans were in town on March 22nd and 23. It also revealed that the Inmans had washed the interior of the car at a car wash on the morning of March 23rd, with only the family, Bill, Sandra, and Will, with Summer nowhere to be seen. They then stopped by a tire shop in Cleveland, where Bill asked to change the nearly new tires to used tires, inarticulately explaining his reluctance to drive on old tires. Investigators also discovered that the Inmans were trying to change the exterior of their car. Bill had removed the light from the driver's door. Eventually, Bill, Sandra, and Will were arrested and questioned. At first, all denied any involvement in the crime, but after hours of interrogation and the prospect of receiving the death penalty if proven guilty, Sandra Inman broke down and confessed to everything. She revealed that it was she and her husband and son who kidnapped Summer on that fateful night of March 22nd. Bill and Will were wearing masks. According to Sandra, it was her idea to intimidate Summer to get a chance to see her grandchildren. But things didn't go according to plan. As Summer was forced into the car, Will pulled her down with plastic clamps around her arms, legs, and neck. Summer had trouble breathing and began to lose consciousness. Will panicked and started looking for a knife to cut the clamps. "Oh my God, Mom, where's the knife? I can't find it." In fear and desperation, they couldn't find the knife, and soon Summer stopped breathing and died. Sandra swore they didn't mean to kill Summer, they just wanted to scare her and resolve the child custody issue so they could see their grandchildren on weekends. On March 29th, a week after the kidnapping, Sandra Inman took investigators to the place where they had hidden Summer's body. It turned out to be a septic tank on the grounds of the Skinnea Faith Church near Nelsonville, about 30 kilometers from the bank where Summer worked. Bill Inman was involved in the building of this church, and it was here that he and Sandra were married 28 years ago. The entire Inman family regularly attended services at Skeena Faith, and Bill played musical instruments there. After removing the concrete slab and unscrewing 6 bolts on the metal lid, the police immediately saw Summer's feet. She had just been thrown headfirst into the sinkhole. She was wearing the same black t-shirt that read, "I don't have a problem with anger. I have a problem with idiots," as the day she disappeared. Forensics determined that Summer had been strangled. There were no other injuries on her body other than plastic clamp marks on her neck, arms, and legs. Sandra admitted that she had initially planned to tell her son and husband to dispose of the body by dumping it in the river, but then she decided that it would be safer to hide it in a cesspool on the church grounds. No one would look for it there. Shortly after Sandra Inman's confession, a trial was held. Bill, 49, and Will, 28, pleaded not guilty to Summer's death. Throughout the trial, they hardly uttered a word, showed no emotion, and avoided eye contact with the parents of the deceased. Sandra, 47, was the only one to admit her role in what happened. She continued to insist that the idea to intimidate Summer came from herself. Before the verdict was announced, Sandra, unable to hold back her tears, pleaded with Summer's parents for forgiveness. Through her sobs and sobbing, it was clear that she was eternally sorry for what she had done. Sandra admitted that she treated Summer like her own daughter and would never repeat her fatal plan if time could be turned back. In 2012, all 3 were found guilty. Bill Inman received a life sentence without parole. Sandra Inman received a life sentence with the possibility of parole after serving 15 years. Close friends and church members familiar with the Inman family's patriarchy did not believe Sandra was the instigator of the crime. Everyone knew that the last word always remained at the head of the family bill and pampered Will from childhood to fulfill any whims. Therefore, many believed that Sandra took the blame to minimize the punishment for her husband and son. Alex, Kelly, and Alana were taken in by Summer's parents after the tragedy. For a very long time, they did not know how to explain to their grandchildren where their mother, father, and grandparents suddenly disappeared. The story of the Inman family is hard to call anything but a nightmare. Religious piety turned out to be only a false facade, hiding pathological mental discord, family violence, despotism, and ambition of a sect member. The tragic death of Summer Inman, a young mother of 3, shocked the entire neighborhood. The authorities recognized that they had been short-sighted in not taking the eyewitness accounts of the kidnapping seriously. Had they immediately started looking for Summer based on those witnesses, she might have been rescued in time. The congregation of Skeena Faith Church, where the Inman family had attended for many years, could not believe for a long time that their respected musician and builder Bill Inman, his wife and son, were involved in such a heinous crime. Many sympathized with Sandra's path to redemption, but could not forgive the rest of the bloody family. The Inman case left many unanswered questions and mysteries. What were they doing in the hours after they were abducted? Had anyone seen them transporting Summer's body? How exactly did they push her into the sinkhole on the church grounds? Was their original plan really just to intimidate Summer rather than kill her? Some investigators doubted that Sandra was the primary instigator of this terrible crime, given Bill's authority as head of the family. She may have taken the blame in an attempt to soften the punishment for her son and husband. Others believed that Sandra, being a zealous follower of the cult, fully shared the radical views of her spouse. It is still unknown what became of the money from the sale of lottery tickets for the construction of the Mercy Ranch shelter. Deceived Logan residents never saw the promised raffle and received no prizes or refunds for the tickets. Authorities speculate that the funds may have gone to Bill Inman's cult or been embezzled by him for personal use. This tragic story also raises questions about the limits of religious freedom and the need to control the activities of religious groups and cults. How could this happen in a seemingly prosperous religious community? How radical were the views of Bill Inman and his followers? Attorneys for the convicts intend to file appeals challenging the verdicts, but even if Bill and Will Inman are ever released from prison, they are unlikely to regain the public's trust after the heinous atrocity they committed against an innocent woman and mother of 3. The family of the deceased, Summer Inman, continues to mourn her loss and hope that one day justice will be done and all the secrets of the case will be revealed. Her parents are trying to raise their grandchildren as decent people, keeping the memory of their mother alive.